a prototype assault rifle from the Kalashnikov concern based off the AK-400, intended to replace the AK-74 in service with the Russian military. A jack of all trades but a master of none. That is the in-game description for the AK-12, which we'll be covering in today's video. The AK-12 is a primary weapon in the weapon class assault rifles. It is available from rank 0, so you can't purchase it with credits. It has a maximum damage of 33 and a minimum damage of 20, with the damage drop-off happening around 70 studs. For reference, a meter is around 3 studs. It is a 4-shot kill weapon at distances 23 meters or 70 studs or closer, and is a 5-shot or more kill at distances 43 meters or 130 studs. While it does lack a torso and limb multi, it does have a head multiplier of 1.40 times, which brings up its damage to around 46.2 maximum and 28 minimum. That makes it a 3-shot kill from 70 studs and closer, and a 4-shot kill from beyond that. It has a base accuracy of 35, a base hip accuracy of 32, and a base aim accuracy of 23. It is wise to ignore these statistics, however, as they mean little to nothing. More so just to show how much recoil a weapon has. Its base ammunition type of the 545 by 39mm has a magazine of 30 plus 1 in the chamber, and has 120 rounds in reserve, giving it around 4 extra magazines. It shares this ammunition type with the AN-94, the AK-74, the Type 88, the RPK-12, the AK-12BR, the RPK-74, the X-95R, the AK-105, the AKU-12, and the AKS-74U. You will be able to pick up ammunition from each of these weapons if you find them lying on the ground. The AK-12 is capable of firing in full auto, a 3x burst, and semi-automatic, and has a fire rate of 700 rounds per minute on both automatic and semi-auto. However, it has a 1,000 round per minute on the 3x burst. The AK-12 is capable of something called hyperbursting, which bumps up its RPM to around 1,000. That is 500 less than the Tech 9, which is currently the fastest firing weapon in the game. Hyperbursting does have a downside, however, as it increases vertical recoil by around 15%. Going into advanced statistics for the AK-12, its minimum time to kill in full auto is 0.17 seconds, and its minimum time in 3x burst is 0.12 seconds. Now the AK-12 has a muzzle velocity of 2,500 studs. However, as I want to make this video more informational, I decided to do a little math myself. So all projectiles in Phantom Forces, they are affected by something called bullet drop, which is also affected by muzzle velocity. Bullet drop is basically gravity dragging bullets down to the ground. So at a distance, a player will need to learn, to shoot a little higher if they want that drop to hit a player or an enemy. Downwards acceleration value for bullets, according to the Roblox Phantom Forces fandom, is 196.2 studs per second squared, which is the standard gravity value in Roblox. So higher velocities, for example the BFG, will result in lower drop. So I did some math. So as the conversion rate is 196.2 studs per second squared, 2,500 studs per second. So I had the purpose of converting that first to meters per second squared, so 65.4 meters per second squared, or 833.333 meters. Sorry, not or. So if you divide 196.2 studs per second squared by 2,500 studs a second, you have yourself 12.7420998981 seconds squared. If you do it with 65.4 meters per second squared, 833.333 meters, you get 12.742094810112. So yeah, very complicated. If you want to convert meters per second squared, there are 60 times 60, so 3,600 seconds an hour. So a square hour would be 3,600 squared s squared, or 1296000 square seconds. In short, it'll take around 12 seconds for a bullet from the AK-12 when it's fired straight to actually hit the ground if it does not hit a wall or a player. The AK-12 has a penetration depth of 1.0 stud, so around 3 meters, which probably means it can penetrate thin, weak materials such as wood, plaster, and sheet metal. The AK-12 has a suppression of 0.5, which is essentially the number in degrees of how hard your screen will shake in a direction when you're being fired at by said weapons. Higher weapons such as the M60, M107, higher calibers such as that will often cause higher rates of suppression, which will cause your screen to shake more, and will also disable the ability for teammates to spawn on you. Now going into the advanced head and body multiplier, the hitbox per bullet/pellet with the head, torso, and limb multipliers. So at a max of 70 studs, which is essentially the number before the stud number before the damage drop-off occurs, a single bullet to the head will be 46.2 damage. So that'll be around 3 shots to finish off a fully healed opponent, and at the minimum 130 stud range and onwards, it will do 28 damage. Torso and limbs are the exact same, with a max 70 studs damage of 33 and a minimum 130 stud of 20 damage. Now I'm just going to shotgun through these, but the modified damage stats of the attachments you may attach to your gun. Barrel attachments. A suppressor brings down the modified damage to 31.35 maximum and 20 minimum, with the modified range from 59.5 studs to 110.5 studs. The R2 suppressor, pretty much the same, from 31.35 to 19 damage. The modified range, however, is 63 studs to 117 studs. The RS suppressor brings your damage from 33 and 18. Modified range from 70 studs to 130 studs. The PBS-1 suppressor brings your damage to 33 to 18.4, and your modified range to 66.5 to 110.5. PBS-4 brings it to 32.34 damage to 18.4 damage, and it brings your range to 70 studs to 117. The oil filter brings your damage to 33 to 20, and your modified range to 59.5 to 110.5. Ammo attachments for modifying the damage of the AK-12. The .223 Remington will bring it to 31.35 to 18 damage, and will modify your range to 70 studs to 130 studs. Armor piercing will bring your modified damage to 33 to 20, and bring your effective ranges from 35 studs to 130 studs. Hollow point will bring your modified damage to 39.6 to 16 damage, and will bring your modified range from 77 studs to 117 studs. I'm not going to bother with the accuracy, because this is probably going to make that video way too long. Hip accuracy of 32, side accuracy of 23, and overall accuracy of 35. Again, accuracy is pretty meaningless, it just states how much recoil a gun might have. Lower accuracy often means a gun has higher base recoil, but accuracy can be changed with a number of attachments, such as lasers, barrel attachments, and grips. Moving on to weapon handling. The reload time for an AK-12 is 2.8 seconds when you still have some ammunition in the clip, and an empty reload time is 3.8 seconds, adding an extra second on. The equip speed is 12, which I don't actually know how to properly calculate because my mind is burnt out from currently calculating muzzle velocity, and the aiming speed is 15. All I know is that the higher number is better the stat. The crosshair size is 30. Not sure how to calculate that either. Crosshair spread rate is around 400. Also don't know how. And the crosshair recovery rate is 15, which is probably good. I don't know if it's out of 100, if it's out of 20. And miscellaneous, the weapon walk speed is 14 studs a second. The aiming walk speed is 8.7 studs a second. Ammo type, as previously stated, is 545 by 39mm. Round in chamber, yes, it does have a round in the chamber. And the shot suppression range, it has none. So what was my experience with the gun? Well, of course, it was my very first assault rifle. Back in years ago, before I took a very long break from Phantom Forces, I was playing on my very crappy Chromebook, and the AK-12 was basically the very first gun I used. It was the gun I got a very first kill on, essentially, very first death, very first match, very first victory. It was the first for everything. But as I did progress on, it opened pathways, especially for other guns, such as the M16A4. I find, even nowadays, that the AK-12, while it is a very solid gun, is very, in some cases, forgettable. Guns, such as the HK-416, as much as I hate to say the name, and things like the Colt LMG, which I used quite a lot, despite probably not being in the meta, MP7, MP5K, those guns just seem to call out a lot more than the AK-12. So, as I set it aside and started using other weapons, it kind of just sat there collecting dust. For newer players, it is a very good gateway to future weapons. It is a very solid weapon, capable of dealing damage over longer ranges, and being very effective in close quarters due to its bursting, which brings up its RPM by quite a lot. Overall, it has lower recoil, and especially even if you attach more recoil-reducing attachments to it, it still it adds even more and probably makes it almost near sniper accuracy. Even adding things such as muzzle booster still don't really add that much to its overall kick, as it's a very simple recoil pattern. Now, I'm honestly running out of things to say here other than the AK-12. My opinion, I'd give it probably an 8 out of 10 for the sake that it was with me during the start. And it is still with me. I use it quite a lot nowadays, since I've gotten a little bit back into it, and noticed just how powerful its bursting is, and how powerful it can be at longer ranges. It is overall I wouldn't say an all-rounder gun, but it definitely is a very decent gun. As its description states, it is a jack of all trades, but a master of none. And I pretty much stand by that.